Hi everyone. Tonight we're going to talk about something you might not want to hear, but definitely need to. Picture this. It's 2 a.m. and I'm crawling, yes. Crawling to the bathroom like a lost lizard on polished hardwood. My legs had just stopped cooperating. No warning, no fireworks, just dead weight. And in that dim light, face down on the cool floor, I thought, this can't just be aging. Something else was stealing my strength. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is right now in your part of the world now. Turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. The truth is, muscle loss doesn't happen with a big announcement. It sneaks in like a cat, silent, smooth, and always just out of sight. One day, you're running upstairs, 2 steps at a time. Next, you're using the handrail for every single one. And worst of all, most of us blame it on age, as if it's some untouchable truth. But that night on the cold bathroom tiles, I decided I'd had enough of blaming birthdays. My legs weren't old. They were undernourished, underinformed, undervalued, and I realized I had no idea what my body actually needed. Now, here's an old age wisdom gem I should have paid attention to. A weak leg wobbles the whole body. When your legs go, everything goes. Your confidence, your freedom, even your mood. And yes, there's science to back that up. Loss of leg strength is directly linked to a higher risk of falls, fractures, and even cognitive decline. But let me backtrack a little. That night wasn't a total surprise. I'd had warnings, occasional leg cramps that came and went like bad house guests, a little stiffness in the knees when rising from my recliner, and a growing hesitation before standing up from bed. Still, I ignored it. Too many of us do, right? We wait until something really scary happens before acting. And that's when I started searching, researching, pestering anyone with a white coat or a YouTube channel. What I discovered was equal parts shocking and reassuring. Shocking because my leg strength wasn't just about exercise or stretching. And reassuring because the fix didn't require a gym, membership, or any of those vibrating belts you see on late-night infomercials. No. The answer was embarrassingly simple. Vitamins. The right ones, taken the right way, at the right time. Turns out, the leg muscles, some of the largest in our body, are also some of the most demanding. And when you're not fueling them properly, they quit on you like disgruntled employees. You can stretch all day, walk 10,000 steps, even squat like a teenager, but without the right support, it's just noise. Oh, and here's a quirky fact for your next dinner party. Flamingos can sleep standing on one leg, but humans over 60 struggle to balance even with 2. That's not evolution failing you, besides nutrition slipping through the cracks. I'll never forget what one specialist told me. If I could get every senior to take just 3 specific vitamins, falls would drop by 40%, and that got my full attention, so I started experimenting. Slowly, skeptically, I kept a journal, logged every ache, every improvement, every grocery trip. And yes, I had my doubts, especially when I saw 0 difference the first week. But by week 3, I stood up one morning and realized I wasn't bracing myself. That moment, simple, silent, strangely triumphant, was better than winning bingo on a Saturday night. I don't say this lightly. Getting smarter about my vitamins saved my legs. And if you're listening to this in bed right now, thinking, It's too late for me. Let me just whisper this. It's not. Because when it comes to muscle recovery, especially in the legs, your body's only waiting for the right ingredients. And trust MIT doesn't need to take forever. Let's start with the one you've probably heard about 1,000 times. Vitamin D. I know it sounds basic, boring even. But let me tell you something. Basic isn't the same as optional. It's more like the foundation of the entire building. And without it, the structure starts to crumble. I didn't always care about vitamin D. Who does? I thought, I live in a bright enough place. I walk outside when I feel like it. I'm fine. Until one blood test later, my doctor looked at me and said, "You're you're empty." I laughed, because what else do you do when you realize you've been walking around like a houseplant kept in a closet? Here's where it gets wild. Vitamin D is directly linked to muscle function, not just your bones, your muscles. You see, there's this little debate in the medical world about whether vitamin D deficiency causes muscle loss, or if the muscle loss causes the deficiency. Honestly, it's like arguing which came first, the chicken or the limp. But the point is, either way, your legs suffer. The crazy part, I thought I was doing enough. I'd sit by the window. I'd walk to the mailbox. Turns out, your body stops processing vitamin D from sunlight the same way after 60. It's like trying to charge a smartphone with a wire that's half chewed plugged in. But nothing's happening. And when I started taking it correctly, mind you, not just popping gummies like Candy Eye, started feeling different. Not like I could run a marathon, but like my legs had some life again. The heaviness I'd gotten used to, like I was dragging sandbags around, started to fade. I remember one afternoon, I bent down to tie my shoes and stood up without grabbing the chair beside me. My knee didn't pop. My thigh didn't tremble. I literally whispered, "Well, I'll be damned," to the dog. She didn't care, but I did. Vitamin D isn't a miracle. It's a missing puzzle piece. Now, an old age wisdom for you. Bones carry weight, but muscles carry dignity. Think about that. Because when you can't get up from a chair on your own, your independence doesn't just slip away, chatters. And the first thing to go, your confidence. But vitamin D gave me that back. Not overnight. Not in some dramatic transformation like on TV, but slowly, quietly, like the return of a long-lost friend. Here's something quirky. Mushrooms are one of the few non-animal foods that naturally contain vitamin D, but only if they've been exposed to sunlight. Mushrooms, getting sun, like tiny, squishy tourists sunbathing in the produce aisle. Of course, I still take a supplement. And I take it with food, preferably something with fat because vitamin D is fat soluble. Learned that the hard way after 3 weeks of chewing chalky tablets on an empty stomach and wondering why nothing changed. What really sealed the deal was a video I saw of a man in his 80s doing Tai Chi in the park. He wasn't fast, but he was stable, controlled, grounded. He had what I wanted. When someone asked his secret, he smiled and said, "Sun, salmon, and silence." Now that's poetic, but the science behind it checks out, so I committed. I added a supplement. I made sure it was D3, not D2, because yes, there's a difference. Don't even get me started. I paired it with healthy fats, and slowly things turned around. I could stand longer, walk farther, and I didn't wince every time I bent my knees. I even tried Tai Chi once, emphasis on tried. Turns out, balance is harder when your cat's rubbing against your leg but I stayed standing. So if your legs feel heavier than they used to, If getting out of bed feels like climbing Everest, maybe it's not age. Maybe it's not laziness. Maybe you're just running on empty. Maybe you need a little more sunshine in your life, even if it comes in a bottle. Now, let's talk about the sneaky one. The vitamin that doesn't get flashy TV commercials or glowing wellness reviews on social media. Vitamin B12. I used to think it was just something you took for energy, whatever that meant, like a caffeine boost with a vitamin label. But I was wrong. B12 isn't just about perking you up. It's about your nerves, your balance, your legs. It's the invisible thread stitching together your mind and muscles. And when you start running low on it, especially as a senior, you don't just feel tired. You start wobbling, literally. And let me tell you, I did picture this. I'm in the grocery store, holding a jar of pickles, innocent enough, and out of nowhere, my legs feel like they've turned into jelly. I had to lean against the shelf like I was posing for a senior calendar March edition, slightly terrified shopper. That was the moment I knew something was off. So I went for tests, expecting the usual suspects. Arthritis? Nope. Circulation? Clear. The doctor looked at me and said, "You're low on B12. I blinked. "That's it." And he nodded. "That's enough." Here's the deal. As we get older, our stomachs produce less of something called intrinsic factor. It sounds like a secret agent name, but it's really just a protein that helps you absorb B12 from food. No intrinsic factor. No absorption. You can eat steak until the cows come home, but if your gut's not cooperating, none of that B12 gets where it needs to go. Academic circles love to argue about whether sublingual tablets are better than injections, or if B12 deficiency is over-diagnosed. But honestly, I don't care who's winning that debate. I just wanted to walk straight again. And when I started taking it every morning, under the tongue like a little mint from heaven, I started feeling steadier, not Olympic gymnast. Steady, but fewer stumbles. Fewer moments of grabbing the counter or clutching the railing like my life depended on it. Here's an old age gem from my granddad. A man without balance is just a tall fall waiting to happen. He said it when I was a kid trying to walk across a narrow fence, but boy, did it hit different in my 60s. Let me toss in a random quirky fact for you. Clams are one of the highest natural sources of B12. Clams, little rubbery ocean blobs, carrying a vitamin that could keep you from tipping over at the bank. Life's weird. Anyway, I started to build a routine. B12 in the morning, D3 at lunch, and the result? I stopped being scared to walk on uneven ground. I stopped avoiding rugs. And I definitely stopped blaming everything on my shoes. The turning point was subtle. One day, I realized I hadn't bumped into a doorway or wall all week. No stubbed toes, no mystery bruises, just solid footing. It was weirdly emotional. And look, I still trip sometimes. I still reach for the banister now and then. But there's a difference between being cautious and being unstable. B12 helped me find that line again. I also started paying attention to foods that block absorption, like acid blockers, or too much alcohol, which, let's be honest, I'd already cut back on because one glass of wine now equals a 3-day nap. Turns out, some of the habits we think are harmless are actually undermining the nutrients we desperately need. So here's my whisper to you. Tonight, if your legs feel shaky, if your balance feels off, don't just accept it. Don't write it off as getting older. There might be a small, quiet deficiency stealing your stability, and the fix might be sitting in your medicine cabinet, or should be. Because B12 isn't a trend, it's a tool. And in the right hands, yours it could help keep you on your feet, steady and strong. So there I was, 3 months into my little vitamin experiment, feeling steadier, slightly more limber, and just smug enough to think I had it all figured out. That was until I went to my friend Gloria's place for tea. She's in her 70s and somehow has the knees of a 30-year-old gymnast. She gardens, she squats, she even dances on her patio in socks. I asked her, "Okay, Gloria, what's your secret? And don't say bone broth again." She grinned and said, "Magnesium." Now, I know what you're thinking. Magnesium sounds like one of those things you hear about on late-night infomercials, or that fizzy powder you dump in water when you're constipated. But Gloria swore by it, said it kept her legs from cramping, helped her sleep like a rock, and made her feel connected to her body again. So, of course, I did what any sane person would do. I Googled it until my eyes hurt, and what I found was honestly a little embarrassing. I'd been ignoring a mineral that's responsible for over 300 biochemical reactions in the body. 300. That's like ignoring the engine light on your car because the radio still works. Magnesium is crucial for muscle contraction and relaxation. Without it, your muscles, not just your calves, all of them can cramp, twitch, or just feel weak and fatigued. And seniors, we lose magnesium as we age. It's like it quietly packs its bags and slips out the back door while we're distracted by joint pain or grey hair. Now here's the academic controversy. Some researchers argue that magnesium deficiency is overblown, that it's rare if you eat a balanced diet. But here's my 2 cents. How many people really eat a perfectly balanced diet every day, especially after 60? I mean, raise your hand if you had toast for dinner last Tuesday. My hand is up. Once I started supplementing with magnesium specifically. Magnesium glycinate, because it's gentle on the stomach and actually absorbs. I noticed something weird. My sleep improved. I stopped waking up at 3 a.m. like a confused raccoon. My legs didn't ache after walking. And get this, I stopped getting the midnight toe cramps. You know the ones. Those nasty little ambushes that hit you like a taser while you're just trying to dream about soft beaches or grilled cheese. Gone. Just gone. Oh, and here's your quirky fact. Magnesium burns with a brilliant white flame. In fact, it's used in fireworks and emergency flares. So technically, you've got a little fireworks show mineral running your muscles. That's poetic and science. And while I'm at ITHO Dage wisdom time, my mum used to say, the body whispers before it screams. And when I think back, my legs had been whispering for months. The tiredness, the cramps, the general heaviness. I just wasn't listening. Now, I don't take massive doses, just enough. I also started eating more pumpkin seeds, almonds, and dark chocolate. Yes, that one was an easy sell. And water. Magnesium needs hydration to do its job properly. So yes, I'm now the person who walks around with a water bottle like I'm training for a senior decathlon. The best part, I started walking for fun again. Not for cardio, not to get my steps in, just to feel my legs moving under me, to feel grounded, connected, and that, my friend, is a kind of freedom I didn't know I'd missed. So if your legs ache, if your sleep sucks, if you're tired of feeling like your lower half is slowly turning to stone, consider magnesium. It's not trendy, it's not fancy, but neither is walking. And both are worth keeping. You'd think with D3, B12, and magnesium all lined up like a superhero squad, I'd be feeling unstoppable. And I wasn't till I had one of those sneaky, humbling moments that made me rethink things all over again. It happened on the stairs. The third step, to be exact. I wasn't running, jumping, or even rushing. I was just climbing. One foot up, next foot pause. That pause wasn't intentional. My thigh just said, no thanks, like it had checked out early for the weekend, and that's when I realized I was missing something else. Enter vitamin K2. Now, I know this one flies under the radar harder than any of the others. Even my pharmacist raised an eyebrow when I asked about it. Most people lump it together with vitamin K1, which is found in leafy greens and helps your blood clot. But K2, that one plays a whole different game. K2 helps direct calcium to the right places. Think of it like a traffic cop, making sure calcium goes to your bones and not your arteries or soft tissues. And why does that matter? Because strong bones and flexible arteries equal happy legs. Academic debates swirl around this one too. Some experts say you can get enough K2 from fermented foods like natto. If you've never heard of natto, imagine slimy beans with the smell of wet socks. Other researchers argue that supplementation is the only way to get an effective dose, especially if you're not into eating, well, sock beans, so I gave K2 a shot. Not expecting much. I added it to my D3 supplement. Many good ones come combined. And slowly, it felt like I could trust my knees again. Less creaking, more confidence. I wasn't bracing myself before every rise or descent like I was about to rappel off a cliff. Here's your old age wisdom. It's not the height that breaks you, it's the landing. And for seniors, those landings happen every time you sit, stand, or step off a curb. K2 supports those landings. Want something quirky? Certain cheesies like Gouda and Brie are surprisingly good sources of K2. Finally, a reason to say, doctors, orders as you reach for more cheese. You're welcome. It's not all magic, of course. You still have to move your body, still have to stretch. But supporting your legs isn't just about strength. It's about structure. And K2 is like the behind-the-scenes crew that makes the whole operation run smoothly. Once I started taking it consistently, I stopped dreading stairs. I even started walking down them, facing forward, again none of that awkward sideways. Once the patateam shuffle we all pretend isn't happening. My legs didn't feel lighter exactly, more like less burdened. It's wild, really, how one tiny vitamin you'd never think about can make that much of a difference. But when the muscles, bones, and circulation all start aligning, it's like your whole body gets back in sync. I even had a funny moment last week. My grandson challenged me to a squat contest. Now, I didn't win. Let's be clear. But I held my ground longer than expected. When he gave up, huffing and giggling, he looked at me and said, "Whoa, Grandma's got titanium legs. Best compliment I've had in years. So take a look at your routine. Are you supporting the infrastructure of your legs? The scaffolding? Because even if your muscles are strong, if your bones are brittle or your calcium's in the wrong places, you're fighting an uphill battle. And I'm telling you, K2 might just be your quiet little ally in that fight. Not flashy, not loud, but effective, steady, like a friend who doesn't say much, but always shows up with exactly what you need." Now I know what you might be thinking. How many vitamins does one person need just to feel normal? Trust me, I've had that same thought staring down a shelf full of tiny bottles, each one promising a better version of me. It's overwhelming, like the Oscars of supplements, and everyone thinks they're best picture. But tonight, I want to shift gears, because while the vitamins are vital and they are, there's one more piece that sneaks under the radar, but glues this whole leg routine together, movement. Not just any movement though. I'm talking about intentional, gentle, end-of-day rituals that make the vitamins do their job better. See, I used to think nighttime was for shutting down, rest, recovery, couch time with fuzzy socks and old mystery shows. And yes, those have their place. But then I read a study buried in one of those dusty health journals that said this: muscles recover and absorb nutrients best when they've been lightly stimulated before sleep. And something clicked. My vitamins weren't getting their proper stage time because I wasn't setting the scene. So I created a nightly routine. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that requires yoga pants or a water bottle the size of a toddler. Just 5 minutes of slow leg lifts while brushing my teeth. A few standing calf raises at the kitchen counter. And sometimes on spicy nights, I'll walk in place while waiting for the kettle to boil. My neighbor caught me doing it once through the window and thought I was dancing. I didn't correct her. Let them think I'm grooving into my 70s. Here's the quirky bit: sloths actually lose muscle just from hanging upside down too long. Can you imagine? Doing nothing literally makes them weaker. Kind of like what happens to us when we spend too much time sitting. We're not sloth spots sometimes. Our couches tempt us to be. Old age wisdom moment. My Aunt June used to say, "Don't let your feet forget the floor." I never really got it until now. It's a reminder to keep your legs connected to the earth, literally and figuratively. Now, let's toss in a little science debate to spice things up. Some physiologists argue that micro-movements like fidgeting or pacing can burn more calories and promote more circulation than we've ever given them credit for. Others say that, unless it's exercise, it doesn't count. But here's what I say. I count everything. Every toe wiggle, every heel lift, every stretch when I reach for the TV remote and accidentally work my side obliques. Because at our age, it all counts. And the truth is, I feel better when I move before bed. My sleep is deeper. My legs don't twitch or ache. I don't wake up feeling like I've turned into a stiff action figure left too long in the box. I also started keeping a small massage roller by the bedside. Not one of those torture devices, just a soft roller for the calves and thighs. A few passes while sitting on the edge of the bed. Nothing fancy. Just me and my legs, having a quiet moment before lights out. You'd be amazed how much your body thanks you for that. No applause, no fireworks, just a subtle yes, deep in the muscles. So here's the takeaway from tonight's almost last chapter. Vitamins give your body the building blocks, but it's the way you use your body that tells those blocks where to go. You've got to show up for your legs, even just a little, especially before bed, because at the end of the day, literally, it's the small things that keep us strong. And with a little motion, a little intention, and maybe a vitamin or 3, your legs won't just carry you, they'll lift you. By now, you've probably figured out that none of this is about just one magic pill. It's not even really about vitamins, is it? It's about reclaiming your legs, your strength, your freedom, one small, conscious choice at a time. But before I sign off tonight, there's one last piece I want to share. And this one's less about science, more about belief. I used to think losing strength was just part of aging. You slow down, sit more, stop climbing stairs unless you absolutely have to. It creeps in, and you tell yourself it's just getting older. But that belief, it's like handing over the keys to your independence. One evening, I was sitting at my dining table with a friend who had recently retired. She looked down at her legs, still crossed tightly like she was at a board meeting, and sighed. Used to be able to do so much more, she said. Now it feels like I'm watching my body from the sidelines. I didn't know what to say in that moment, but later that night, I walked into the kitchen and stood completely still. I looked down at my legs and thought, what if they're just waiting for me to trust them again? So I started saying it out loud. These legs are strong. Silly, right? Talking to your limbs. But here's the quirky fact. Studies show that verbal affirmations, when done regularly, can actually rewire parts of the brain responsible for motivation and physical confidence. Like giving your muscles a pep talk they didn't know they needed. I added this affirmation to my night routine. Whispered it while brushing my hair. These legs are sturdy. They support me. And slowly, the belief came back. I stopped looking at the stairs like an enemy. I stopped holding onto the handrail with both hands like I was about to rappel off a building. Old age wisdom for this one. My grandfather used to say, speak well to the body that carries you. He was a carpenter, with calloused hands and creaky knees, but he trusted his body even when it groaned. That trust became a kind of strength on its own. Now, here's the academic twist. There's an entire branch of neuroscience studying the connection between intentional thinking and motor performance in aging adults. Basically, your belief in your body can affect how well it actually performs. Think strong, be strong. That's simple and that complicated. So I challenge you, just like I challenged myself, don't whisper defeat. Whisper strength. Say it even when it feels like a joke. Say it until it starts to echo somewhere deep in your knees, your calves, your feet. Because everything we've talked about, vitamin D3, B12, magnesium, K2, the little exercises, the nighttime stretches, they're tools. But you are the builder. And you can build something solid, even now, even starting tonight. I believe in my legs again, not because they're flawless, but because I stopped waiting for them to fail. And maybe that's the real secret nobody talks about. Not just the nutrients, not just the routines, but the decision to believe in your own strength again, quietly, consistently, lovingly. So as you get ready to sleep tonight, maybe with your fan humming, maybe with your legs tucked under a weighted blanket, say it once, these legs are strong, and trust that they're listening good night.